Tim's News Explosion. 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 Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last Tim's News Explosion before Christmas 2021. We made it again, 2 weeks to flatten the freedom curve. Tonight is Monday, the 20th of December. We are live still on the Unshackled YouTube channel. The Wilmsfront channel is on a strike, which will expire tomorrow after they didn't like last week's show. Still live as always on DLive and Entropy, where you can ask myself or my panel questions tonight. I put the link into the live chat. Hello to all the regulars and plus the newcomers as well. So it's just after 8:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria. Since we spent the most time out of any city in the world in lockdown under Dan Andrews' totalitarian socialist regime, it's not surprising that the largest freedom rally crowds have been here in Melbourne. Andrew's goons, the Victoria Police, have deployed unprecedented tactics this year to crush freedom protesters, charged many and even imprisoned some. But even though the targets of the state now are the freedom activists, before it was the Patriot activists, which they began to be targets of the state coincidentally after Dan Andrews was elected premier in 2014. Probably the two biggest individual targets of the state who were part of the Patriot movement. Crap, what is that? Yeah, there, I've got it now. Neil Erikson and Blair Cottrell on my first of the end of year Tim's News Explosion panels. Welcome, gents.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, Tim.
I noticed there was one comment up here. Where was it from? We'll try to get to as many comments as we can. Ethereum, who said, gay intro, lame-o. Are you talking about, what is that, the Tim's News Explosion intro or my introduction just then?
No, you meant the News Explosion intro. I'm almost certain. Yeah. I mean, you made it yourself when you had a crack, and that's great. But yeah, could have been.
Hey, I just want to know what happened after you interviewed that shark, like a cuts. Did the shark come up and say anything to you?
I think it just, what is it? I think it damaged my microphone, but that's about all. I'm getting better.
How were you breathing underwater too? Also, wasn't your original idea to have like planes hitting the Twin Towers in the original one?
Might be in bad taste. Here's another comment here from a pandemic of the melanated. He was in your chat last week. Is Tim Asperg? Is he one of the, what is that, the Antifa, anti-freedom protesters there? Because he looks like a fat bastard with a mask on. I
think that's Derek Chauvin.
Is it?
Well, before you, like, if you're going to ask, is someone a Spurg? Well, ask yourself this question. Are they interested in politics? If the question is yes, then they are a Spurg to some degree every time. Yeah. And, I'm no exception. Neil's no exception. Yeah. We're all not normal. That's why we're here, right?
Though, what is it? Everyone's suffered like us, as I said, over the past 2 years, and who knows what else is going to happen. I might as well ask you both, first of all, like, you're the original and like targets of the state, enemies of the state. Like, they still, like, especially the Twitter Antifa still get triggered whenever you're out and about. But well, there's much larger targets now, such as, well, Monica Schmidt, Rafael Fernandez, Fenos Paniides, Morgan Jonas. Like, they thought they whacked you out, but there's just more that's popped up.
Yeah, I suppose we're like us dissidents. We're like, slime. You grab it and try to squeeze it to death, but it just kind of like squeezes out of your hand and then reforms. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know, mate. Like, there's always going to be dissent. The more tyrannical the government is, the more it tries to pressure people to do what it wants, the more ruthless it is, the more dissent it creates. Tyrants always create their own opposition, and they build it up by being tyrannical. That's how authoritarian or totalitarian systems of government that are unnecessarily cruel, paranoid, and obsessive with stamping out dissent in particular, they always build their own resistance against themselves inadvertently, whether they know it or not, right? So it's the same thing in this case, right? Like, dissent is going to be like a mainstream sort of clan, like social political clan in Australia, whether you're nationalistic or something else, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be quote unquote right wing. I actually don't even really think there is a left wing and right wing anymore. It's really just the corporate state and its bootlickers versus everybody else, right? It's like you're either with the government, you're supporting the message of the state, the corporate press and the state media, or you're against it. You don't believe it. You're looking at alternative opinions and explanations, right? It's one or the other right now. You're either in one camp or the other. You're either with the state or you're against it.
Yeah. I was going to say, I find it kind of like hilarious that it's kind of Groundhog Day all the time. It's like, before us, there was people before us, and there was people after us, and it's like the same thing keeps happening. The same, it's like we never learn, and it kind of, I'm not being black-pilled about it. It's just that the same thing keeps happening and nothing ever changes. It's like the system is totally, it has to be like broken to stop that cycle. The left are always fighting against something, and the right wingers are always fighting for something, but it never changes. Right. You know what I mean?
But they get nervous when someone's trying something new. That's when you see the government take drastic action, aggressive action. I mean, the action taken against us was it was unprecedented, and it was very aggressive. Closing our bank accounts, dragging us through court for 3 years for charges which were essentially just hate speech, banned off Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We were the first. That didn't happen to anyone. We copped that before anyone else. We were like the precedent. We were like the test case for all of this censorship, right? So, yeah, it's when someone tries something new, or it's a new type of person that's coming into the realm of dissent, they really start overreaching. I think the state starts overreaching.
Well, that's funny you say that, because the prosecutor threw out the other two charges, damage to property. Remember, there's another two charges. They threw them out so we couldn't appeal, or so we didn't have more options to appeal, because they wanted to solidify the conviction. And it just shows the setting. Like, and I don't want to be a black-pilled bitch tonight, but you can never win, because the government will just make a law. So, like Monica Schmidt, for example, goes to these rallies, they make it illegal, etc. If she found a way around that, they'll just make a law next week.
Well, and with these, what is it called, public health orders, like, they can pretty much declare anything and everything illegal and imprison anyone that they want. I mean, the new permanent pandemic law is pretty much the same as, the old state of emergency. Like, it's the perfect tool. Like, right, this is a new health order.
Well, how does the law work, right? People seem to be confused, many people, especially people of the older generations. They're like, oh, the law is based on the Constitution and human rights. It's based on force. It's based on violence. If they have the force to back up whatever it is they want to do, they will do it, right? And that's it. That's what it all comes down to. I mean, all of these laws, which are just words on paper, they sometimes serve to legitimize the introduction or the enforcement of a law. They legitimize it, but it's still just words on paper. At the end of the day, all law is based on force, is based on violence, is based on the police using force, using violence to put you in jail or kill you if you don't obey them. That's the way the law actually works. It doesn't matter what the Constitution says. What matters is whether or not you have the force to back up whatever it is you want to do, right?
Well, that's why we've seen all of these, court challenges to whether it be the curfew or the mandates all thrown out. Like you learnt this through your court appeal at the county court, Blair, that basically there is no real rights under our constitution. It's whatever the government legislates, and the courts will back that up.
Right, and anti-racism is not just a social policy, right? It's not just something that the media is pushing. It's not just something that is taught in schools and universities. It's the law, right? These laws were introduced fairly recently in this country, Australia, after, I think it was after 2001, maybe even 2011. I can't remember exactly. But it's against the law to be racist when it comes down to it, right? So if you're mean to someone and they claim that you're being racist, you're doing something illegal technically. That's the way the law actually works, right? And what the law actually says when it comes to the Racial and Religious Tolerance Acts in Australian legal legislation or Australian legislation, what it says is it's not really intended to be a piece of legislation which is to be enforced in a criminal sense, but it's educational legislation. What that means is it's a law that they wanted to use to pressure institutions to enforce anti-racist dogma or propaganda or social policy rather than, prosecuting criminals, which, they did that to me. They used it as a law to prosecute me for a criminal accusation, namely intent to incite ridicule of people on Facebook, right? And just think about how ridiculous that charge actually sounds.
And they didn't actually have to prove intent either, did they?
They did. Well, they had to prove that
under the proposed amendment, the Racial and Religious Tolerance Act amendment, which expands the act to include like all the other attributes, it removes the intent as well. So it just has to cause. It's still before the state parliament, that one.
Right, but the point is the legislation has been there since 2001, I believe, Racial and Religious Tolerance Act. It's been amended many times since then, and it says, plain-faced on its surface, in some of the very, very first paragraphs of the legislation, that it's an educational legislation, meaning it's meant for community brainwashing through institutional influence. That's what the law was meant to do from the beginning. So it's meant to basically threaten or enforce anti-racism by pressuring or coercing, rather. Hang on, I'll just put my phone on silent. Or coercing institutional bureaucrats such as teachers, judges, professors to obey this and teach this, or they could technically be breaking the law if they don't, right? So I'll just throw that out there. Hopefully someone can understand and process that.
It's interesting you say that. I believe there was for civil action for companies and education systems to, fine people for not following it. But it obviously went into the criminal realm. But the other interesting thing, which Blair, you would know in your appeal, when I appealed the Muslim Muhammad is a false prophet stunt, I used the Charter of Human Rights, and I think you used that in your appeal as well, Blair. The Victorian Charter of Human Rights gives people the right to exercise their religious or political beliefs in protest, etc. But there's a clause in that, and this is what the prosecution always referred to. Well, yeah, you can use this to defend against the inciting religious or racial contempt, but in the fine print it says you cannot use the Charter of Victorian Human Rights if you offend someone in the process. So what political or religious comments can you make that doesn't offend somebody? So the system's set up, it was set up to protect minority groups, but now it's to protect the majority groups, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But look, at the end of the day, well, I don't want to harp on about this too long. At the end of the day, in Australia, you don't have any fucking rights. You got no rights. The government is going to do whatever it wants, whenever it wants, and your peaceful protests will achieve nothing in a political sense. The government is laughing at you. They don't care about you. You don't have any rights, so just understand.
You have the right to be trans. You have the right to be trans.
You have the right to do anything which weakens yourself and your country. If it weakens you, if it makes you softer, easier to govern, and it screws your country up, You have the right to do it. You'll be encouraged to do it. If it strengthens you, if it makes you smarter, if it makes your country stronger, right? It's probably going to be against the law. That's the way the law works in Australia right now, like it or not.
Speaking of people who are offended by everything, particularly on racial and religious grounds, is Devere Abramovich. And what is it? He was in the news again today because he was appalled that somebody had drawn a swastika in chalk on a side drain near a skateboard park in Elstonwick, and he's the one who's been lobbying for this proposed swastika ban in Victoria, the public display of the swastika. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't get the reference necessarily. I kind of get it, but whose face is that? Whose face is that? Is that the guy who drew the swastika? I don't know. But yeah, I haven't heard about the story. I'm not really keeping up with everything.
Well,
going
basically,
on.
that every drawn swastika that's spotted in Melbourne, there's a write up about it with a comment from Devere Abramovich of the Anti-Defamation Commission, which is basically the ADL of Australia.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that guy. Basically, he gets paid by the government to be offended on behalf of the Jewish community. That's basically his whole job, is to use words such as shocking, appalling, sickening over and over again in articles, and then take a nice big fat check from the government home, go home to his house on the hill, and not really actually give a shit about anything, including his own people. That's Devere Abramovich and his whole lifestyle in a nutshell.
He's a professional baby, man. Professional complainer. He meets with Mossad every second week. I know that for a fact.
That's shocking.
That's
shocking and sickening. I'm appalled by that. This can never be repeated. This is Holocaust level conversation. I'm sickened and shockened.
Yeah, when he goes back to Israel to meet his Mossad agents, he helps them build the wall to keep immigrants out. And then he flies back to Australia to tear down our wall and let immigrants in.
I've heard this theory before. I can't remember if it was you who said it or somebody else said it. But it might have been, I don't know. I think it was maybe Maddie or Dave from XYZ who came up with this theory about Devere. But he's also spent 2021 getting triggered over freedom activists rightly saying we're sort of on a slippery slope similar to how Nazi Germany began, and he's like, this is an insult. These public health measures are nothing like the final solution in Nazi Germany.
Well, everything gets compared to Nazi Germany. Can anyone have a conversation in politics without Hitler and the Nazis being brought up within about 2 minutes? Isn't there some law? There's some social law that someone created that any political conversation is going to lead to that subject within a certain amount of time, and it's applicable to every single political conversation. So yeah, I'm sick of hearing about it, to be honest. I'm sick of hearing about Hitler and the Nazis. Like, I'm sick of hearing all these stupid comparisons to people who have absolutely no historical understanding of that time.
It's the one that the normies understand the most. Like, papers, please. Like, you need papers to work during lockdown. Now you need papers to work to show that you're vaxxed. There's these quarantine camps now being built.
Well, it makes sense because Anne Frank was just on lockdown. That was it. I think she had access to like fruit and veg from the local supermarket. But isn't that true? Wasn't she on lockdown?
I don't know the exacts of it, but I was watching. It would have been a couple of weeks back now on Netflix. The Last Days documentary has come up. Do you know of that documentary?
No.
Okay, well, it's about these Hungarian Auschwitz survivors, and they talk about, it didn't all happen at once. At the beginning, there was
it's on Netflix. It's on Netflix. That's about all I need to know about it. Yeah.
But she talks about that every day there was a new law or regulation, and says like, and they all thought, it's just one more thing, like it'll all blow over. And this is sort of what we're hearing now.
It's the same every time. It's just a subversion process. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. You know, it won't be that bad, and you'll get peace. You'll get peace if you just let us do this one more bad thing. If you just let us pass this one more law. If you just do this one other thing that violates your human rights, we'll give you peace. But you're never going to get peace. The meek and the vulnerable never get peace in this world. They only get crushed by the strong, and they deserve it because that's how nature works every time. And it doesn't matter if the strong is represented by feminism, fascism, whatever it is. The strong deserves to crush the weak, and that's what's going to happen in politics. You know, so if you're going to obey and think that you're going to get peace if you obey, you'll deserve what you get.
Hey Blair, how long will these leftists, because they're obviously not masculine or powerful, how are they? How long do you think they'll have a grip on the military or the government? Like, isn't there a time limit for that? Like,
It's talking about there. What is that? There, what is
they're basically. I'd be surprised if we even had a thing. I would be surprised if we had anything still now that could honestly be called a military or a government. Whatever we have is not a real military or government. I'll tell you that much. They haven't got a grip on these things, these quote-unquote leftists, these subversives. They've destroyed these things. So I wouldn't worry about military or government. These things don't really exist in Australia anymore. There's just a huge illusion that everything is still under control, and we still do have these things, and that order and, you know, and regular life still exists, but it doesn't. Everyone's just living in the past, living in a fantasy world, and it's all about to come crumbling down, man. I can feel it in my heart. I know everybody's saying that, and everyone's been saying that for a long time, and the accelerationists are all getting wet dreams about it, but that's not what I'm about at all. I go with my gut, and I go with what I'm seeing, and what I'm seeing is, I think, possible shutdown of the internet in Australia in the coming 12 months. I'm seeing like UN showing up to your house if you're not vaccinated. I'm seeing that. I'm excited about it, actually, genuinely. Yeah, I'm excited. It's not so exciting. It's not so excited for the average, not so exciting for the average family man, for obvious reasons. But
that's where Blair thrives.
Well,
Blair's been preparing for that day for a while. I'm just waiting for the pink army tanks to roll down the street shooting dildos out of them. Like, do you reckon that's going to happen?
What is that? Because what is that? Like in the UK, Boris Johnson is enlisting the military to administer boosters. I assume that the tanks rolling down London are all shooting like boosters into people's arms.
I don't know. Like, I'm hearing about Novavax too. Everyone's like, "Oh, Novavax is supposed to be so much better."
It's the one true. It's apparently the one true, like, authentic vaccine in the game of vaccines.
I'm not.
It's all gene therapy, man. They're not vaccines, Tim.
I'm not compromising. I'm not compromising.
You two are both,
whatever it is,
pure blood. So we saw, what is it, Versace, pure blood in the chat. But what is it? You're not 100% pure bloods because you've both had tattoos, and that's one of the arguments that is used against anti-vaxxers. Oh, what, you don't want to put something into your skin even though you got tattoos?
I've put plenty of things into my body over the years. You know, I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised I survived a lot of what I did to myself. The fact I still have hair, it shouldn't be possible. It shouldn't.
You know, people still think it's a wig, like the Antifa losers online. They still think.
I think we dealt with that the last stream. I think Blair proved that, but
I don't want to mess it up. Like I messed it up in the last stream to prove that it wasn't.
you love injections, don't you, Tim?
Injections?
Yeah, meat injections.
Well, what injections?
Meat injections. Is that correct? That's what I heard.
How does meat get injected? Like, what is it?
Don't elaborate. Don't elaborate. So yeah, the point is, no Novavax for me either, mate. No one's injecting me with anything. Like I control that. I control what goes into my body. Right.
Hey, what would it take for the government to inject you, Blair? Like, what would be your line, your limit?
I've already said that I'll die. Like, I'll die. I said that if you're going to send people, if you're going to send people out, if you're going to send people out to inject me by force, just send them out to shoot me, because that's how it will end anyway. right? I'm not.
Like I said, like their guns will probably have jabs.
Yeah, no. I'd rather be injected with lead. Inject me with lead, bitches.
You'd have to get paid a lot, all right? I've said this already. You'd have to get paid a lot to read my profile and then agree to go and try and force inject me. Like you'd have to be getting paid like $100,000 or something to even try that, or even more.
You know what would happen?
Risk is too great.
You know what would happen after, like if they couldn't inject you with a vaccine and they injected you with lead, what they do after is violate your body to test for COVID, and if it came back positive, say you died with COVID.
Yeah, that's probably what will happen too. Like, why was
then there'll be media articles saying anti-vaxxer Blair Cottrell dies of COVID.
Yes,
all the media will have wet dreams over it. But what happens if they build some sort of like building where they just put people in it and gas them with the vaccine? Could you see that happening?
Yeah, apparently that's been tried before, but they might need to. You know, they don't even need like a real gas chamber. Apparently, you can just use wooden doors
with glass frames
and an old brick building. The chimney doesn't even need to be attached to the building, and it works. You can do millions of people that way in a very short period of time, apparently. So I'm sure that's a viable option for the state.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yes, I've heard this theory before. What is it? So what is it? We've got the Howard Springs in the Northern Territory where they, the quarantine camp, and the one here, Mickleham, here in Victoria, and the one called Well Camp in Queensland, which, it's rumored that they'll put the unvaxxed in there. It could, who knows what they've got in store for next year, especially with the Omicron moronic Mandela flu, as it is known.
I love the names they give it, the Well Camp. It's like the British government and the Australian government and all the Commonwealth, they have the craziest names for laws and shit. The Well Camp. Like it means anything other.
And Howard Springs as well. Like it sounds like, there's that, down near where you and I live, Blair, there's that Peninsula Hot Spring. So when you hear like Howard Springs, it sounds like, it's some sort of, resort with like natural spa and that. It doesn't sound like a COVID camp at all.
Well, why would they call it what it is? Why would you call a death camp a death camp? Of course you're going to call it Freedom, Health and Safety Camp or something. Like, why would you have a department for killing dissidents?
Howard Springs, it does have a swimming pool in it.
Yeah, right. But why would you be honest? Like, if you were the government, why would you be honest about what you're doing?
Oh, they're actually they're part of the network of National Centres for Resilience. That's their official name.
So they're concentrating people together in one spot, yeah.
And having a whole like network across the like.
Did they have a canteen as well?
I think it gets like delivered to your door. So what is it? I know that Claire Lehman of Colette, she's defended these COVID camps. She won the 2020 Libertarian of the Year. She says they're not concentration camps. They're just for people who can't quarantine at home because their place is too crowded. And look, they get fed. There's Netflix with Wi-Fi. It's fine.
Yeah, there was swimming pools at Auschwitz, or one swimming pool at least. They had bands, bands they could participate in for playing music. They had canteen and little in-camp currency they could use to buy beer. You could buy some light beer at Auschwitz. And yeah, it wasn't that bad, man. It was all good. It was all good. They had heaps of cool stuff there. Yeah.
Work will set you free, and the vaccine or a positive negative test will set you free. Pretty much.
I've just done the same thing that I've scolded other people for doing. I've just made a comparison between modern day and the official Nazi Germany story, which wasn't even really fucking true. So apologies for that. I'm just trying to appeal to all viewers.
I think it took you 27 minutes, Blair.
That was for you boomers. That was for you boomers out there, that one. Yeah, so.
Hey, what were we talking about today, Blair? I wanted to get into with you about these boomers believe in mainstream media when it comes to the vaccination and COVID, and yet they're still sold on some other things.
Yeah, I mentioned to Neil, it's funny how all these people, right? They're like, oh my God, the mainstream media is sowing all of this, false narratives, propaganda about vaccines. They're hiding information. They're lying. They're slandering the reputation of doctors who go against the mainstream, narrative when it comes to the vaccines and COVID. They're lying to us. But then they look at people like me and they're like, oh, that guy's a Nazi because I read it in the media. It's like,
and what is that? They also, have read what you've said on social media that's attributed to you, various Facebook comments and YouTube comments. I don't think you've ever been asked on a stream before. Like, obviously, you've been asked about the portrait of Hitler comment, but what about the one?
No, Tim, he's got a girlfriend. He's not gay.
But I was going to ask about the comment where it attributed to you, where you say that you use violence and terror against women.
That was direct. Sorry, I'm looking at the comments and people are like, Blair, there's a spider on your shoulder, and I'm like, is there? And they're like, how you looked? Fuck, dogs. Yeah. Thanks for that, lads. You've just broken my concentration big time.
Did you hear what
I think them comments are all Photoshop by the left, to be honest.
Yeah, the one about how you.
Hang on, is there a spider on my shoulder? Is there a spider on my shoulder?
Not.
No, Blair, it's on the door. It's on the door.
Huh? Is there a spider there? Can you see it?
There's lots of creepy crawlies around at the moment.
There's a scorpion on your arm.
Do you see any spiders there, lads?
Hey,
all right,
Tim,
let's get back to the conversation. What was the question?
Yeah, that was a request by the Indie Scientology podcast. He wanted you to rip out your six pack. I'm not sure. What's up his alley.
I don't know. I'm not taking my shirt off. I'm not that shredded. I'm not that. I kind of am, but I'm not happy with it yet. Get me in about a month. I'll blow your mind, man. Anyway,
Neil, do you know what's up? Yeah. Neil, do you know what's up with that Indie Scientology podcast request?
I haven't even heard of this before, to be honest.
That account?
No, I don't even know. What account? Where does it post? No.
I put it up earlier in the show.
Oh, yeah. I just look at comments that I like. But, hey, Tim, you got heaps of chest hair. Show us your chest hair.
What?
No, don't fucking do that. No, man.
It's
only okay when I do it.
It was just a little bit.
A little bit. You could shave that shit off. You could shave that shit off and fill a mattress, mate. That's not a little bit.
We were just getting to a serious moment of truth. You haven't answered the question about the.
I'm just buying time. I'm buying time to create a lie. No, I'm not really. I didn't hear the question. What is it?
Well, that's a YouTube comment that's attributed to you, that you use violence and terror.
The violence against women one. To be honest, I don't remember if I made that or not. It was a very long time ago, and I might have just said it to take the piss. I might have just been trying to stir people up. That's what I do on the internet, right? I stir people up. Like, I was born of Gen Y. We were the generation that invented the meme. Right? We invented online trolling. It started with us, right? So, but I don't remember if I wrote that or not. And if I did, it wasn't serious. It was just taken out of context, obviously.
There was a lot of Photoshop. Yeah, when you started exploding, Blair, a lot of people in the chat probably don't know this. The left couldn't beat you in arguments, yeah? So what they'll do is they'll fake screenshots. They did it to all of us. They did it before the St Kilda rally. Me and you talking apparently on Facebook. Even though we're being both live banned on Facebook, we couldn't even have our names on there. But they fake comments to beat their enemy, and then they spread it out there, and they just keep reappearing.
You can't beat me. You can't beat me in an argument. First of all, no one wins an argument. Why? Because after just an argument, both parties are still alive. So no one actually won. All right. You can embarrass the other person in an argument, by tripping them up, making them get emotional. And that's what was very easy for us to do in the early days. A lot of people made a good living and got very famous doing that, right? Why? It's easy when you represent the truth to do that, to embarrass the person who's representing delusions, falsehoods, and ideology. When you're just talking about truth, you're going to offend some people, but the truth is also funny. It's funny when everyone's so used to living in a pretend world, in a make-believe world where they're forced to obey social policies that they know aren't true. They know they're based on lies such as equality, right? Everyone knows that people aren't equal, and everyone gets sick of all the policies that are enforced on them in the various institutions, workplaces, schools, right? And so when someone just starts telling the truth, it's actually quite funny, interesting, enticing. It makes that person, interesting. So like, you can't actually beat someone in an argument when they're telling the truth. All you can do is slander their character, try to humiliate them, try to make them seem like such a bad, horrible person that no one will listen to them anymore. See, when your idea that you're arguing is based on lies, when it's based on a delusion or a manipulation of reality, you have to attack the person, because lies can't argue against the truth. They can only attack the person speaking the truth. It's the way it'll always be. Yeah.
Argument by combat, then you can win.
Right. And there's a saying too, no rest for the wicked. What does that mean? It means when you're trying to uphold a lie, you're going to be doing a lot of work. You're going to be slandering a lot of people. You're going to be writing blogs the rest of your life, trying to contribute to the slander of people who are going against the lie. You're going to be up all night. You're probably not going to be very healthy. You're going to be doing a lot of work. No rest for the wicked to me means if you're going to support a lie, uphold a lie, it's going to take up most of your life. It's going to be a lot of work. The truth doesn't require much work. It's easy to speak the truth. It's easy to break the system with the truth. That's why the system tries so hard to shut people up who speak the truth, to censor people, slander people, make people disappear who speak the truth, right? So like, yeah, if you're going to work for the system, try to uphold the lies and delusions of the system, whether it's equality or COVID or vaccines or something else, you're going to have a hard lifestyle. You're going to be putting in the work to do that. So good luck with that.
Although Tim's sitting there playing Words with Friends on his phone, I actually listened to you, Blair. That was quality content. Are you busy, Tim, or something?
No, I'm just keeping up with the comments. Well, all of a sudden, did you both mute yourself?
Well, you're the host, mate. You're driving this conversation, so don't look at your phone. Pay attention.
You looked at your phone before.
He put it on silent.
I'm a fucking guest. I can do it.
Yeah, show some fucking respect, Tim, man. You invite people on. Blair shared this to his millions of followers, and you just sit there playing on your phone. Yeah, what is this, Dia Beltran?
What's going on? This is a sympathy stream. All my streams are sympathy streams. I don't actually like any of you guys. I'm just trying to help you guys out.
He's doing you a favor and shit, and you smack his hand. Fuck, disrespectful.
That would be That would be a daring thing for me to actually do. Literally smack his hand.
All right. What are we going to do? Some questions?
I've seen you shake hands, and I felt you shake hands, and it feels like it's like a wet cloth. It's like
jelly.
Yeah, like jelly. Tim, you could just squeeze the hand, man. It doesn't take much effort. Just a bit of a squeeze. But Tim's a good guy. He has his flaws, but he's a good guy.
All right. Now that I've asked, what is it? A question of curiosity. There's another, what is it? We know that Neil is facing another 3 months in jail for another disturbing religious worship. What is it? Your appeal's in March?
Yeah, I'm appealing a church that supports sodomy. I was sentenced to 3 months imprisonment by a non-heterosexual female magistrate who I believe has like a gay flag or something underneath her desk. Anyway, so I'm appealing that sentence with a constitutional argument. I'll probably lose, but I'm looking to get back to prison and have a rest. Because prison's not that bad, to be honest. For like 3 months, 1 month, it's a bit of a holiday. So I would advise everyone to go to prison at least once.
One of the freedom activists who got sentenced to 3 months in prison in New South Wales, Anthony Kaloof, he's just got out. He's on parole. He's originally from Victoria, but like he's going on podcasts and Instagram lives, basically saying his 3 months prison sentence like really messed him up, and he's found it hard to get back on his feet. And he talked about hard to get a phone and accommodation and that, and he couldn't see what everyone was doing on social media for 3 months.
Oh, like if you don't have any support outside, I'm guessing it would be hard. But if you got support, you got family and friends, it's not too bad. But even Nolte, for instance, he committed one of the most atrocious acts in our, Victoria, like what he did at that memorial. He went to prison. He had people that wanted to kill him, but he said it was like a holiday. So I don't know, maybe he had a hard time. I don't understand. But what I want to ask is, did he get $300,000 like the others, or did he get any of that money?
Which money?
Well, I noticed there was that woman that went to prison for, I think, a month, and she got upwards of $300,000. Did what's his name? Anthony Kaloof, did he get any money?
No, there wasn't any crowdfunding for Andy or anything. I know there's obviously a lot of the freedom activists have been in trouble, and so there's been a lot of crowdfunding donations. Also, the Antifa anti-freedom protesters, they're also asking for money as well. People think it's just people will say that the freedom activists are grifters, but look, this was their protest on Friday. Did any of you see that? How one of the freedom activists, Anthony Burge, went to I think it was the State Library, and he was confronted by literally like a group of masked, fat Antifa activists. One of them was Tom Tanuki, who's really stacked on the weight.
So I didn't see it. I haven't really been following what those people are doing. I just don't really care. It's just really embarrassing at this point that they're still on the side of the state. Really fucking embarrassing. But whatever.
The thing is, they claim that they're pro-public health, and yet they're all humongous and think double, triple vax and a mask is gonna keep them in perfect health.
Yeah, like I said, I think a lot of them have like a financial incentive. Maybe they have a Patreon or something, and they need to keep. They can't upset the various breeds of state bootlicker, whether they're like pretend anarchists or anti-fascists or radical feminists, or I don't even know, man. Various different clans of these people. It's probably a financial incentive, and they need the Patreon funds to keep flowing in or something. Maybe that's one explanation. Another explanation is just that that's the kind of personality where you're dealing with these kind of people. They like to feel like someone is in charge, like there's a big daddy government looking after them and crushing all the bad people for them, and they'll do anything big daddy government says. It's probably just a psychological thing. I've never grown up that way. I've always looked after myself and always questioned everything that the system has put out there. So for me, it's like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. And I understand like not everyone who's a dissident is necessarily well-intentioned or honest. That's true. You can't just believe someone because they're against the government, right? You can't just jump on board with them. You got to do your research. You got to question everyone, including people who are dissenting from the mainstream narratives. But that's certainly no reason to jump on board with the state and run off and get injections and booster shots and attack everybody who's asking questions. I won't keep talking because I'll just start swearing.
Yeah, I miss our old enemies, Anthony Main and Stephen Jolly. Like, I don't think Stephen Jolly would be doing this shit. The old socialist enemies of ours. I had a lot more respect for them.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Jolly was a proper communist, like a class war communist, not a limp-wristed transvestite. My pronouns are she, zimzer, feminist, freaking modern-day communist, right? So there are those legit class war activists out there and actual anarchists. I hope there are some actual anarchists. The main representatives of so-called anarchists are a big letdown, in my opinion, right, for the anarchist community. If it even does exist, I'm not seeing any evidence that it even does. I mean, apparently, if you're an anarchist, you just have to keep calling people Nazis and supporting the government. I don't know, man. Like it's too embarrassing for me to even pay attention to it. It's like beyond cringe now. It's kind of just sad. I used to be able to laugh at it and cringe at it and kind of enjoy it a bit, but now I just kind of feel sad for them. Yeah.
You've got an ongoing court matter, Blair, with when some Antifa banshee went off at you at a supermarket once.
Yeah, I go back to the courts are really banked up, man. That incident
What
already
actually happened? Like for people who don't know.
Oh, well, I was just shopping for groceries, as one does, and I felt like someone was following me. You know, I was with a colleague, and I told that person I was with to move aside, and I moved aside because I just felt uncomfortable. Someone was close to me behind me. And sure enough, I was right. Whoever it was, you know, kind of overweight, middle-aged guy with a hat on and a mask on, couldn't really see his face properly. But he said, "Watch your back, you fascist cunt." He was right close to me, so I shoved him, and he fell over. He stood up and threatened me again, so I shoved him again. He bounced off the shelves like a beach ball and fell over again. Then I kind of realized this guy's no threat to me, right? So I just took my colleague with me and left. Didn't think anything else of it, right? Like didn't suppose that anything would come of it. I mean, I've been involved in far worse situations than that have resulted in far worse injury. But
I can picture Blair carrying a bunch of cans of protein powder, just walking through the supermarket.
I don't even drink protein powder, man. Real food, just chicken breasts, beef, good quality cuts of beef, eggs, avocados, potatoes, pumpkin I love, Jap pumpkin. But yeah, anyway, the police got onto me about it, said they weren't even going to charge me, but the quote-unquote victim in this situation, which according to the state police is the person who followed me in a supermarket and threatened me. I forgot the guy's name. I can't remember it. It's on the police brief. He's like 40. He's in his 40s or something. So he's got like 15 years on me. He's older than I am. And they said they weren't going to charge me, but the victim had emailed the assistant commissioner of Victoria Police on numerous occasions, and the commissioner had emailed the sergeant at the local station, Frankston, and told him that they have to charge me with something. So, you know, in order to satisfy the anti-fascist community, Victoria Police just charged me with a summary offence, an assault offence for pushing him over. And that already happened over a year ago. And the first time I was supposed to appear in court just to work out the details, was only just scheduled for a couple of weeks ago. But the courts weren't available because of COVID, so it's had to be adjourned. And now I won't be returning to court until sometime mid next year, but they don't even know when. So the courts are still closed. The magistrates courts down here in Frankston are still closed, still not operational because of COVID, right? And there's so many matters banked up that for pushing someone over, or, you know, a minor assault charge, I'm not even going to get to the first mention for about 18 months. Yeah. So if you commit a serious offense and get bailed, like let's say I go and rob a 7-Eleven or something, and I stab someone on the way out, right? And that's my first offense. And I was just, you know, having a bad day. Maybe I've got some drug problems, something like that. And I get bailed from the station, right? I could be out in the community for another 18 months to 2 years before I even have to turn up to court for it. So where's the incentive to not commit crimes at the moment? Because you're not going to have to go to court for a long time if you get bail. You know what I mean? You know, so and the jails are all full too. The jails are all chock-a-block full. So justice system's in a real bad state in Australia right now. It's very, it's really struggling. It's really struggling. Are they doing Zoom court? Someone asked. I didn't get that option. I got a text. I don't know how they got my number, but I got a text from the Department of Justice saying, show up at Frankston Magistrates Court at this time on this date, which I did. And then security guard, private security guard, I think G4S is what the courts use. gave me a card at the front. He said, you can't come in because there's a virus, right? So here's a card, call this number, call the number, and just dealt with it over the phone. Sorry, we can't get you in, they said, going to have to adjourn it. Yeah. So there you go. There's your there's your glorious egalitarian state systems process of justice right now. That's how smoothly it's going.
People keep asking in the chat, are you going to appear on a stream with Thomas Sewell anytime soon, since he got bail recently after being in prison on remand for 7 months. His trial is probably not going to take place for a couple of years due to COVID. Neil, you were on the Zoom courts, and there was a lot of news in the media about the court being Zoom bombed, and then everyone Zoom bombed the mention of Dan Andrews' treason trial on Monday.
Who's this Margot woman in the chat, Tim?
You don't know who Margot is?
No, she's been writing a lot of stuff about Chinese food.
And
fleeing the Vietnamese border.
Didn't you go to church with her once?
I think so.
But yes, going. Yeah.
What was the question? What was the question?
Are you going to appear on a stream with Thomas Sewell?
I'd rather just talk to him because, I don't really care for the kind of politics that he's engaged in with the kind of people that he's with. Like, you know what I mean? I don't really want to be involved in groups or connected to groups at the moment. And all you got to do is appear in a stream and you're connected with those people, officially. It's just, I'd rather just talk to him. Like, I love the guy. He was my best friend for many years, and I'd rather just talk to him, which I'll do sooner or later, as soon as I find a way to contact him. But it'd probably be a very popular stream. Yeah, I think a lot of people would like to see that. But I don't know. Maybe I'd just do it with him though. I don't want to be sitting on a panel with 6 random American neo-Nazis talking about American geopolitics and listening to people complain about white genocide and the Jews run the media. I fucking know, mate. Everyone fucking knows. Sick of hearing the same fucking thing in these stupid streams over and over again. It's not necessary. I mean, you can argue that you're raising awareness, and I suppose, yeah, maybe you are, but raising awareness is a good slogan that really just means I'm doing nothing, sitting here talking shit. That's what raising awareness actually means a lot of the time. But yeah, maybe I'll do one with him. A lot of people would probably like to see that, but we'll see what happens.
I heard Channel 9 up their security the day Sewell got out. I think they hired 4 new security guards.
4 white ones.
Yeah, and they sacked the other one. I'm surprised that security guard didn't sue Channel 9. We
don't know, what happened after that. Maybe they could have given him like a payout, hush money or something. Sewell still has to face, obviously, that was what he was originally charged with, and then when he was charged with that armed robbery over the confrontation with the Antifa people who followed the NSN into their camping trip in the Cathedral Ranges. So they all deny that they're members of Antifa because Antifa is just an idea, of course. But yeah, he was already on bail for that offense. You've watched the court hearings, Neil. Is that what's the status of that? Because all the focus is on the armed robbery charges, which he was in remand for.
Well, considering he's got no criminal record, I wouldn't even bother about the Channel 9 thing. He didn't kick him in the head. When he got him on the ground, he didn't punch him in the head when he was on the ground. So I think he's going to be all right on the Channel 9 one. He'll probably get like a community-based order. The other charges, the more serious ones, are armed robbery. From what I could hear in the court case, even this prosecution kind of said themselves that they probably can't get a convict. They didn't say it like this, but in other words, they probably won't be able to get him on armed robbery, but they'll get him on the lower charges. So I think in saying that, if we're to look at Sewell as a normal so-called alleged criminal, he'll be all right. But then again, I spoke to other people like he's a right-winger, so they might make an example of him. Who knows? It's just on the judge or the magistrate whether they're You know, if they read the Talmud or they read something else. I don't know.
If under normal circumstances, if this happened to anyone who, and it was just a criminal matter, if the person charged cannot be positively identified by the witnesses, forget it. Never going to be a conviction, right? If there's a group of people around a car wearing balaclavas, and then
they found apparently his blood on the car.
Yeah, look, they can say they found his blood on the car window, the broken car window.
It's still his.
He's got a cut on his wrist, but that's saying he was there. But as you said, Blair, you're very correct. No witness has ID'd him at the scene by face, so they can't say he had the knife or he did this or he punched. They can't do that unless
Even
there's corroborating witnesses.
This is the thing, right? Though the blood does not prove armed robbery. The blood
I think that's where his lawyer's going.
The blood might prove that he broke a window. Maybe it might suggest that maybe he was there, but was he the one who took the phone? They can't say that. But the other thing is, because the car, a lot of people don't know this, the car actually took off and crashed into a boulder. Now, there's a million possibilities of how someone's blood could end up on the car window. Maybe the car came at Saul if he was there, yeah? And he tried to get out of the way and cut his wrist. Because punching a window, you'd be cut there or cut up there or there. He's just got a little cut on his wrist or up here. So they're going to have to try and prove that he palmed it and it just cut. It doesn't make any sense. What I think will end up happening is the car took off and nearly hit Saul, and he's put his hand to stop it and he cut his hand on the glass. Yeah, maybe Saul and his friends were just out for a nice peaceful camping trip and some Jewish extremists tried to ram them with the car. You know,
dude, that's what I've heard. I've heard that there's I don't know if I can say it actually, but yeah, let's just say Antifa were there.
Yeah.
Now the federal extremism inquiry that was it called at the end of last year was supposed to report by April 2020. They had 2 days of hearings, and we've heard nothing. But the federal government has listed 2 far-right extreme groups on its official terrorist list, the base, which no one had ever heard of until maybe it was either what's his name, Alex Mann. I did a report on it, and the other one, what is it, Soju? I can't even pronounce it, but it's some sort of has some sort of Viking name. The
Hezbollah.
No, I'm talking about a far-right extreme organization.
Wasn't it the base? Was it the base?
Yeah, they listed 2 there. There was one earlier.
Isn't that just a website where people talk shit? I don't even know what that is.
Apparently, an FBI agent started it. That's the word.
Alex Mann got access.
Well, the best way to lead your opposition is to create
the base tapes for an ABC background briefing radio report, and then Nick McKenzie? He was able to, on his part 2 of his 60 minutes expose with the Dave Ryan NSN informant, he was able to identify unmask a couple of members of the base and dox them.
I'm not following this, man, because it's too much. There's just too much going on in this country for me to keep up with these days. So no comment on this one.
Well, I was pumped for the video until I saw Tim for 10 minutes looking on his phone, playing Words of Friends. And I've just lost all my steam. I'm just like, fuck it. Thanks, Tim.
You know? We're getting up to the hour mark. So,
but the base is, from what I've heard, it was created by the FBI in America, yeah? So some older Americans, probably in their 30s, contacted, I think, a 16, 17-year-old Australian here on a messaging app. I think it was Telegram. And then they were just laughing with him about the base. The base doesn't exist in Victoria or Australia. It doesn't exist here. So it's just kind of, giving some red meat to the left. Look, we've made a terrorist organization, but they're going to have a hard time, man. I think actually getting a proper group, a proper right-wing group, and making it a terror organization instead of some little group, the base, with like one member.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not really following. I was just thinking about I need to go soon. So
yeah. Well, like I said, we've wrapped it up for an hour. Any people in the comments, is there anything that I've left out that you'd like asked?
That'd actually be a good idea. It'd be a good idea to get a stream going with the original protagonists of right-wing extremism in Australia, you know, with Shortus, myself, Tom, Neil. I don't want to leave anyone out.
Linton?
Even, Sherman. Sherman would probably love to get on, have a bit of banter, man. That'd actually be really funny. That's a good idea.
You know what? It might be one of the most biggest live streams possible, because I reckon there'll be at least one raid during the live stream. Someone will be taken out.
Plus, everyone on the stream will have physically participated in some sort of dissident, politics that got them in some sort of trouble. Everyone will have contributed. Everyone's known, you know. It's just not a bunch of randoms talking shit. So yeah, I think that could be a good one. Good idea.
Yeah. Over on Entropy, Ethereum has said, completely off topic, but what did Neil do during the UPF days? I'm not sure if he means what did you do activist-wise or for work.
Neil was in charge of media. He was always in charge of media, and he was the ideas man when it came to promotion.
He did.
Sorry. I think this is disingenuous. I think this is just a salty spurg.
Yeah, but I want to give Neil some credit, because there wouldn't have been a UPF without Neil. That's the truth.
Technically, the UPF started with me and Sherman. Technically, we want to get down to it. Right, and Blair and Sewell come on board, and I did a lot of the propaganda, the filming. Blair did the legwork for the first, I think, year or 6 or 8 months. I stood behind the camera, and then I started getting in front of the camera after that. But yeah, I did a lot of shit for UPF, man. Most of the shit we did was my idea.
It was.
I was like a producer.
Neil was the ideas. Neil's the guy that gets things happening.
Blair, what these spurgs don't understand is that it's either black or it's white. You know, it's either clean edge. They don't understand the grey area, yeah? So the beautiful thing about UPF was there was all different personalities, different classes. You had Blair, the bodybuilder. You had Sewell, who dressed well. You had me, the bogan type, funny guy.
There was no.
There was a massive following because of that. And
there was no purity spiral.
Yeah, it's not one-dimensional, and this is what a lot of spurgs don't understand. But you know, he can dream on his computer and fantasize about what he's done. But yeah, but thanks for sticking up for me, Blair. But yeah, it is.
Well, I'll say this right. I used to talk to Neil on the phone during UPF. UPF was my life for a solid 12 to 18 months. It was I had to quit my job and invest all of my time into it, because the Facebook page was close to 250,000 followers. It was massive. The media required just constant attention, constant editing, constant new content. We had our own media business, and it rivaled the reach of Channel 9, Channel 7. It rivaled the reach of corporate and state press in Australia, at least on Facebook. It often surpassed their reach, right? But Neil was the guy who kept everything moving. And even though,
and I spent 4 hours after work every night editing videos.
Yeah, and even
with the missus screaming at me.
We would talk for probably at least 3 hours a day, often 5 to 6, I would say, and would come up with constant ideas, or Neil would come up with ideas, and I would decide whether they were all right or not. For every 10 of Neil's insane ideas, one was actually really good, and that's what put UPF on the map, really. I mean, I was a voice, I was a front man, but Neil was part of the soul of UPF. And when Neil broke off from it, that was the end. It didn't survive long after that. I couldn't even keep it alive myself for very long.
In all fairness, I think it was going to fall apart naturally anyway.
Probably. Everything has a beginning. Everything has a beginning and everything has an end. And it's better that something goes down when it's big. It's kind of cool that it got censored when it was big and popular still, when it was a big name, because kind of like Led Zeppelin, right? They're there and they're doing all this cool stuff and everyone loves them, and then they're suddenly gone. Right? That's what people love. People don't, when they see you dying slowly and they see you get old and weak and frail, you're not respectable anymore. You have to die.
I was about to say the exact same thing. I was going to say, would you rather die in battle and be remembered, or would you rather die pissing your pants? Which I think Tim wanted to get into a bit in a story. But would you die pissing your pants on your sofa in front of your family and being mocked because of your Alzheimer's? This, yeah.
It's what gives something staying power. What gives something staying power is when it dies young and beautiful. When it dies at its peak, it never dies really. it stays alive in people's minds and hearts forever. Yeah.
Well, the freedom movement looks like it's still got a lot ahead of it. Like it's growing, as Andy Nolch in his article said, there's been an explosion in the freedom movement. There's a separate state extremism inquiry, Victorian state parliamentary inquiry, looking into the far right links of the freedom movement. And obviously, they used a photo that you a frame that you were in, Neil, with Rukshan, and the fact that, Blair, you've attended a few freedom rallies as evidence that, look, there's a far right influence.
Did you listen to that, Neil? I think that was for you.
Oh, I thought I'd give you a chance to.
They've seen the photo. Like, you've posted photos of yourself there, and they're seized upon by the usual suspects. See, like,
it was always going to happen, dude. This is the funniest thing. When they attacked the union headquarters, the CFMU headquarters, there was only one dude there that we kind of know, Lyndon, yeah, but he's a painter. He's been painting for 20 odd years, yeah, that's why he was there. And Lyndon's not like us, trust me. He's just the average worker. He has some ideas that are left and a bit right. So he's not, I wouldn't say he's right wing, but the left would. He was the only person there at the CFMU building, and all of a sudden that whole thing was a right wing extremist operation. It didn't matter whether I took the funny thing is, it didn't matter that I took the photo of Rukshan. They were going to say it anyway. And they were already saying it to everyone. There was that crazy dude, or I don't know if he's crazy, but he was arrested for plotting something. They're calling him a far right winger. He was just an average boomer with the freedom protesters, but they just call him a right winger. It doesn't matter what we do. People have the assumption that we have control over this. We don't. The left will just say they're right wing. You know, look at them. They racially abused Rukshan at an anti-racist protest. These people have no morals. You know,
they don't need morals, man. Like what is it? They're shapeshifters, bro. But I don't want to get into it. Here's a good question, right? When did I swallow the real red pill? Because for a while you were focused on Muslims, but then you refocused on the real enemy.
Let the cat out of the bag, Blair.
Yeah, I don't know what
I'll say this, right?
The real enemy, globalists.
I've never changed my opinion or really developed it that much since I was about 19. I learned pretty much all I needed to know about the situation in the world very young. I've always known that everything for me is just a means to an end, right? It's all just a means to an end. That's what UPF was. Didn't get me to the end I was hoping to get to, but it was a means to an end in my mind at the time, okay? So never doubt me. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, trust the plan, man. That's what
Blair was the first Q. You know, Blair existed before Trump. UPF was 215, you know, but
we'll wrap it up now. But people have asked what's going to happen at Scott Morrison's emergency Omicron meeting tomorrow. Apparently, they're planning to expand mask use again. That apparently they still think piece of cloth is just as good as
Tim, I wanted to hear more about this story that you're going to be talking about tonight.
What story?
Something about some old guy urinating or something. What was the story?
Yeah, what is it? You shouldn't call the people who are constantly worried about, COVID and variants and that bedwetters, because this person on Twitter said a commentator has used the word bedwetter as an insult again. So once more, I'm asking, please, not to do this. Bedwetting is a normal stage of childhood development and recognized symptom of real trauma. Grown-ups using cruel school bully taunts make me wince.
Yeah. Hey, don't tell Blair. We'll just keep him on the stream as long as possible. All right? Just keep asking him questions. All right? Was that in reference to anybody?
Joe Hildebrand, he wrote an article talking about how Australians are a bunch of bedwetters, the COVID pandemic has proven.
Yeah, that's fucking insane.
Bedwetters. What do you mean by bedwetters?
When like cases go up, they're like, and there's a new variant, they wet the bed and they're awake when they do it.
Meaning like what they believe the story and get scared. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that they wet the bed.
Probably, man. I've been very cynical lately, so I don't want to just keep being cynical. I've been really hard on people since this whole thing.
Everyone's getting tested before Christmas. Apparently, like they're being overwhelmed at the testing sites. But the thing is, if you test positive, then your Christmas is cancelled. So what is it? You're queuing up for like 5 hours to get like a nose poke and a deep throated with this PCR test.
Jesus.
I don't know, man. I don't get it. I don't understand the conformity.
Have you two ever been tested?
Nah, never will get tested.
I was born with something called an immune system, and I've had the flu before.
Remember when they also tried to add the anal swabs to the test as well? There was a epidemiologist in Western Australia, Dr. Zoe Hyde, who suggested that cases in children might be detectable for a shorter period. How can we get around that? One option is anal swab testing because fecal shedding is prolonged. A study in Wuhan found about 1/5 of children had negative nasal swabs but positive anal swabs. So, like, she's like a regular quoted expert on Twitter, and she suggested that back in February. This is part of the reason why we're in the situation we're in. These doomsday experts. And a lot of them are women.
Hey, Tim, before we go, I just want to get into it with you. So you've had 2 jabs of the vax.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Why did you get 2 jabs? We'll keep it short.
Well, because that's it's 2 vax. Well, it's currently a 2 vaccine. 2 dose vaccine regiment.
Yeah, but why did you get the vaccine?
Well, I had my own.
Probably to keep his job for the same reason most people got it, to keep his job.
I made a value judgment that obviously I could get sick from this jab, or I could get really sick from COVID. I don't know, and so
I'm not having a go at him. I'm just trying to. So the booster's coming out. Are you going to get the booster?
Only if it's Novavax.
What if it's not?
Well then I'll think about it. It's going to be mandated, the booster, definitely.
100%.
Yeah. So do you think because I have an idea, a lot of people have got the double vax, with duress, they didn't want to get it. So they're like, fuck it, I've got the two jabs so I can keep my job. But then the booster comes out. Do you think there's going to be like another large amount of people that are going to be protesting now because they're going to say, well, I've done what you wanted me to, and now you want me to do the booster? That's enough, yeah?
Yeah, but enough people are scared of Omicron now, even though the evidence is growing from South Africa that it's mild. I mean, if I was in South Africa at the moment, I'd be like, if I went out on the street, I'd more be in danger because of my skin color rather than getting some Omicron mild cold. But everyone's like unhinged over it, so it's basically like booster me now.
The funny thing is, Delta Omicron, the anagram of that is media control.
Yeah, I saw that.
Have you guys seen that?
Yeah. And
I did see that.
moronic is the anagram of Omicron.
Illuminati confirmed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so Blair,
are we going to wrap it up?
Yeah, we are.
Blair, are you going to get the vax?
Oh man, don't get me worked up. I feel.
I reckon that there might be some person following him in the supermarket now with an injection needle and just come up behind him.
Like a meat injection from behind?
No, a COVID vaccine injection.
Look, man, I've invested so much of my time into my health, into my body over the years. I mean, I was really unhealthy in politics. Politics made me fat and ugly, I'll be honest. That's what it does to everyone. If you watch people in politics, that's what it does to you. It just stresses you out.
Yeah, you actually look better now than you did in 2015, even though you're 6 years older.
Yeah, if you look at the videos from you back then, you were bigger, but you're bigger too.
Yeah, I was putting on a lot of weight because I didn't have the time to train. My head wasn't in the right space. I was just thinking about Facebook and politics all the time, right? So I'm glad to be out of it. But why would I do that? Why would I get injected with it? Like, I don't see any reason. Oh, you're not going to let me use a bank account? You closed my bank account years ago. For
You can
a man that's got nothing to lose. He's got nothing to lose. Like,
you can drink beer at a pub after you've scanned your vaccine passport.
Blair doesn't drink beer.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, that's the benefit.
But Tim, I'll give you this, Tim. You were always kind of on the fence about getting the vax from day one, which I respect. Yeah. You weren't one of these people who went, because I know a few of these people, no offense to them, but they, for a whole year, they were going, fuck this, I'm never getting this vax, ever. Oh, they can kill me first, etc. And then they folded and got it. They're the ones who I give shit to. But you, on the other hand, you said you're going to get it. So, yeah.
Oh, look, man, people have their reasons, and most of the people I know who got it because they had to keep their jobs and they were going to get sacked or put off without pay, and they were put in a really unfair position. That really got to me too, because people I really care about were put in that position, and that really angered me. I needed to check out after that for a bit because I was very angry about that, especially afterwards when Eddie McGuire was on TV, like thanking everyone, like mainstream media journalists. Thanks everyone for getting injected. No one did it because they. Do
you know Eddie McGuire hasn't even been vaccinated?
Yeah, I don't care.
I don't know about that.
The point is, man, they've got nothing over me. Like I live a low upkeep lifestyle. I don't own anything they can take.
You own nothing and you're happy.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, all I have is my body and my health, man. That's what I've always invested myself into. And if they're going to take that from me, well,
do you eat bugs as part of your diet as well?
Pardon?
Do you eat bugs as part of your diet? Because clearly you've built yourself back up better.
Yeah, no, I don't eat bugs. Not that I know of. Well, isn't that some New World Order diet or something? I don't know. I've seen something
you're
like
the diet expert. So I just wondered, like, is there actually nutritional benefit?
I'm an expert on myself. I'm an expert on my body. I know what works for me, and that's it, right? So
I think bugs are good, but you have eggs, man. We have eggs and chicken and shit. Like, I think if we run out of like chicken and eggs, etc., you probably would eat bugs. You know, I think. If
anyway, questions. Let's just wait. We got to wrap this up. We're already over an hour. I got to go.
Hey,
let's do some questions.
Blair, what's going on? What's news?
Yeah. All right, that's it. All right, thank you, Neil. Thank you, Blair. Thank you, everyone.
He wants to do questions. Your guest wants to do a question.
Oh, he can read the chat himself.
Yeah, but you're about to cut it off. He wants to reply to some questions, Tim. He's interacting with your viewers.
Is there any super chats or anything? Does anyone want to pay Tim 50 cents so I can ask him a question?
No, there's nothing.
Oh, so he can get money. He can get money, but not me.
Everyone's government's made everyone poor.
Yeah, right.
I don't get the $300,000 super chats.
Someone said, "Don't end it, your dog."
What would bring me back into activism? My friends.
Cash.
Now, listen to what I say here, right? I can take anything, slander from the mainstream media, bank account being closed, legal action, getting harassed on the street, whatever. All that government intervention, the media slander, I can take that, right? Doesn't bother me. I love it. But what I couldn't take was my friends turning on me. That's what gets me, man. That's what puts me out. That's what gets me down, yeah? So my friends, they can bring me back. But they're the reason I left. And they're the only ones that can bring me back, man. I love my friends. That's it. And I've only got a few of them. In politics. They know who they are. But yeah, that's the honest truth.
Who is Turtle Cash, I wonder? I've heard the name Turtle.
Well, he just had an emotional statement, Tim, and you just talk over him.
He'd finished.
It's just honest. It's earnest. It's honest. It's not really emotional. It's just earnest. You know?
Hey, Tim, would you class Blair as a libertarian?
Somewhat, yes. I mean, he was at a freedom rally.
You're right. Someone said politics and friends don't mix. I do believe that there are no true friends in politics, but when you go through shit with people, you make good friends, whether it's war, whether it's, struggle on the streets through political activism, the sort of stuff that you just endure together. When you endure together, you really bond well together with people. And I made a couple of good friends in politics And I'd say Neil's definitely one of them. Neil, I consider Neil a friend, and that's not an easy title to win from me. So, but
Thanks,
yeah,
Blair. Thanks, Blair. I can't say the same for you, but I appreciate it. No, I'm just trying.
That's why I love him. See, that's why I love him. But
yeah,
I'm
going to look something up while you're talking, Blair, because I've got a question for you before we leave.
No one knows the real story of why I dropped out, because I don't gossip. Simple, I don't gossip, especially not about my friends. Even if they gossip about me, I don't care. I still love them, and I've never told my side of why I dropped out, and I never really will, never publicly. But it was just disappointing when some of my friends turned on me. It really disappointed me, and that just made me think this isn't worth it. That's the truth of why I really dropped out. Yeah.
So if we could manufacture some form of time machine and go back to Hawaii, what was the year? 1779, and when James Cook was getting murdered by Hawaiians, and you were there, what would you tell him before he stepped off that ship, Blair?
I don't know, man. That's a really random question, and I don't know what to say. I don't know. Like, to be honest, I barely even listened to the question. I'm just reading the comments, so I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Anyway, I think we might wrap it up, man. I'm getting a little bit
Tim,
bored.
what books do you have on your shelf behind you?
Yeah, this is what Neil does on the phone here. Like when you want to end something, you say, "Hey, what's trying to start a new conversation?" But that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Blair. I'll be back possibly later in the week. Next Tim's News Explosion is next Monday with Margot and Andy on the end of year panel. And who knows what will have happened by then. Good night, everyone. Thank you for your support all throughout the year.
See you, bud.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.